Great. So, again, it's just to look at the other side of the book.
It's pretty good.
Wonderful. So, first of all, the question that I would want to ask. Okay, please introduce yourself. How do you introduce yourself in a short way?
We are recording already.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, random person comes up the street and they're like, "Who are you?"
The shortest way to introduce myself, I'm Anthony N.M., driven by purpose.
Anthony N.M., driven by purpose.
That's it.
And so your purpose has led you to writing a couple of books.
Yeah.
Which one of which we're going to discuss today.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about the book we're discussing today for me is the title.
Okay.
I want to know, what is the weirdest reaction you got from somebody concerning the title of the book?
Several people, a friend of mine did post it somewhere, and she was called, said, whoever wrote that book is Illuminati, is evil. Just by the title.
Just by the title?
Yes.
So they literally judged the book by its cover?
Yes.
And suggested it's Illuminatic,
yes,
because of the title.
Yeah.
But without talking about the title just yet, what is the book about?
The book is about marriage for the married, partially for those who are trying to get married. But mostly it helps for those who are already inside the boat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you feel that if I'm not married, I'm not going to necessarily benefit strongly from the book as much as someone who is married?
You will benefit, but it actually benefits you more. It gives you upper hand.
Okay.
Yeah, it gives you upper hand, as much as it's more centered on people already inside to find their way. Yeah. But it will give you upper hand of what is coming and what you need to prepare for.
But doesn't it all end, like when you say, "I do," isn't it, "and they lived happily ever after"?
That is a fantasy. It's not always the reality. The happily ever after is only comes after the prerequisite of the work you put into it. So it's not automatic. There's no such a thing that you just get in and say "I do" and then happily ever after. It doesn't exist. It's actually the prior work before you say "I do." Yes.
So if I said there's no such thing as a perfect marriage, would you agree with me?
Definitely. We don't have a perfect marriage. I heard there's this series that used to show in South Africa, DSTV, called Perfect Wedding. Every time I'm at the house and they're watching it, I used to get angry. It's nice, perfect wedding, then after what? Because of course they wouldn't say perfect marriage. Okay, there can be a perfect event, which was the wedding, but there's no such a thing as perfect marriage. It doesn't. You can have a good marriage, but not perfect.
Okay, what about things like compatibility, the right star signs, we like the same things, or we complement each other, we complete each other's sentences, romance, don't those things?
When we were kids, you'd actually think, we used to have those dreams like, oh, he likes the music I like, she eats what I eat. But that would be a boring marriage. Terrible. I wouldn't want to be in that marriage. The marriage where you do the same thing, there must be, you see, when I look up at compatibility, I always look at hands fitting into each other. Okay, so it's in the book where I've put your weaknesses fitting into my strength fitting into your weaknesses. And that goes along with hobbies. There'll be no adventure in the marriage if we all like the same thing. Well, what makes marriage adventurous is that we are opposite sex and you also like the opposite things. I would like to get into your world, a bit of discomfort. You get into my world, a bit of discomfort. That brings about stretching. And that brings about growth.
Okay. What's the title of the book?
The book is entitled Marriage is for the Dead.
Why?
I looked at my own life, my survival in this thing called marriage. I looked at my survival and being a relationship counselor for over so many years, and the people I've interacted with, I've come up with a conclusion that if you are not dead, the marriage will die. Both can't live. You can't be both alive.
Okay, so to reiterate and for clarity's sake, there are some people who will think, like you're saying, one of you has to die. We're not talking passion killing.
Okay, no, we're not talking about passion killing. It's a metaphor. If you be a student, for I am a Christian, a student of the Bible, throughout from Genesis to Revelation, it encourages a Christian to die. Die to yourself daily and pick up your cross. Paul says in Corinthians, we are dying to our physicality, we're all being resurrected in the spirit. The whole Bible is about dying to yourself so that the true you can come out. Right now, most of us, why marriage fails is that we live a shadow. What people see is a shadow, because you are projecting the shadow that everybody is fantasizing about and excited about, and the person meets you is excited about the shadow, but it's not the reality they encounter, because the day they encounter the reality, you could have wished you could have killed the shadow so that they can see the reality.
So relationship goals and whatnot, those are just...
They are all good, but you know, there's deeper things to this whole thing than just having relationship goals, liking somebody and all these things. So yeah.
Okay. You have how many chapters? Is it 24?
There are about 24.
There are about 24 chapters.
Yes.
You talk about... Okay, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You personally, which was your favorite chapter to write?
I think the blame shift. The blame shift, and the highest above all was the communication platform. Ooh, because what happened is that I was at home after fighting this conflict called marriage with my wife for a long time. I sat down on the table, and she's putting food, and a certain insight came in about platform. It says, doesn't matter how good the food is, if it's not on the table, if she puts it on the ground, it will be discomfort for me to reach there. So what makes the food to be eatable and comfortable is the platform called the table. So it brings it closer, it makes it comfortable. So I immediately go, I say, wow, I have just found the solution to the problem of our problem. So she gets there and says, sit down. I said, I think what we're having a problem in this marriage is not the communication. You're an expert in communication. By profession, you're a psychologist. I'm a counselor by profession. So we know the communication stuff. And I said, I think we don't have a communication platform. We have the tools, but where to use them. It's like a guy who is trained in soccer, but there's no stadium where to play soccer. You're very skilled. You have all the skills of communication, but there's no stadium. So your skills become useless. So I said, listen to this solution I've come up. Before I could finish, she busted. and right there, I say, exactly. That's why I need this thing. So as I'm about to communicate what I've just discovered, I wasn't given the platform. The platform was literally shattered in my face. So I was like, so when I was writing communicating platform, I was crying while typing on my computer, crying in tears. Tears were coming down on my computer as I write platform, because it literally happened in my face. I was trying to communicate, and the platform was shattered. Yeah.
I'm going to take you 2 steps back.
Okay, great.
You are a marriage counselor. Your wife is a psychologist. Industrial psychologist. So both of you have a good grasp on how to deal as a human being. How come your marriage is not perfect?
That's a good question. That's a good question. You go and start being a student, and as I get into this thing, I begin to go back. You go to UNAM universities. Most failed marriages is psychologist counselors. And I can guarantee you, you go to UNAM or any other place, you'll find more single psychologists than any other department. I'll guarantee you that. At the time we were at UNAM, I don't remember having any lecturer within that department that was married.
Anyone else do psychology?
Okay, but those were back in the years, back in the days. But you will find why. It's very amazing that sometimes we get the tools as a professionality for others, not for personal application. It's easier for me to get to a medical doctor and give me instruction and to apply them about my sickness than if they entered this sphere as a professionality. It's just that as a profession, and most people, they don't seem to, all of us, okay, most of us, we don't seem to bring that application. This will shock you. Over my years of counseling, I think I have either 99% or 100% rate the premarital counseling that I've counseled those who got married under my guidance. None of them have got divorced. And in some ways, they are flourishing. And I used to tell them this: you're going to walk on the red carpet because I walked on thorns. So in my own experiences, bleeding, I've gathered this knowledge that when I sit down to share with you, I mean it. I have seen it, I have tested it. So coming back to us, the marriage not being perfect, you are human first. And in human, there are levels and layers. That's why it's a lifelong learning of each other. There's a concept which they used to say, let's grow together. Grow together, it's deeper than just what is illustrated. Meaning, if we met in high school, you used to love chocolate. Now that you have got 2 kids, chocolate is no longer a priority for you. There is a higher demand you need beyond just me providing chocolate. So I need to grow with you. You know, we met again back to a male in university, our focus was study. So you were encouraging me, helping me to study. Now that we have graduated, we are done, and I'm struggling to get a job, the focus has changed. Grow with me. You can't do the same we used to do 20 years ago, 10 years ago. So the failure to grow together at the level of our need and understanding, you begin to drift apart from each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
I asked you about your favorite chapter.
Yeah.
I want to know what was you said you wrote it with difficulty, with tears and whatnot.
That was painful one.
Was it also the hardest chapter that you had to write? Or was there another one where you had to dig deep, introspect, and...
The hardest one, I would say it was a cross-culture chapter. On where you meet somebody on different cultures, and each one of you have got a strong belief within your culture, and you don't seem to compromise. And where instead of us coming together and create our own culture, as we're saying behind the camera, but each one of you is determined to keep his culture from your mother, from your father, and it brings conflict. Because certain cultural practices, I was like, oh, and she'll be like, but nobody wants to give up either. And that goes back to the emphasis of the Bible. The Bible says, leave your father and your mother. It meant leave your culture, leave your background, leave anything. You go empty-handed and unite to this man, unite to this woman, and you become one. One meaning you're going to create a one culture, a one mindset, where all of you become one. You become your own identity. So that battle where people go through in terms of abandoning certain cultural practices in order to become one, I think that was one of the difficult chapters. Yeah.
And not to, and again, looking at, for example, what we might be referring to as the African Renaissance, we're more about, being proud of being African and that sort of thing. And that also comes with culture and heritage. Are you saying we should abandon culture and heritage?
Culture is fluid and is progressive.
Okay.
Culture is not static. So as people, just like as we have revolved, we are no longer in the era of typewriter. We are no longer in the era of CDs. Now there's memory stick, no tapes. So things are moving and are revolving. You grow with it. So as two people, there are certain cultural practices that from your background, that when we look at it as a couple, is it going to benefit either of us in the progressive where we're headed? Okay? For example, me and my partner, my wife, would want to impact the world, and the world has moved into digital. If we're going to use 1972 formulas, then we can't impact that world together. And if you are stuck, for us, I love my brother was just saying, he said, Anton, the issue of the land has moved. The word domain, it's space to occupy. Right now, you want to occupy your own space in the internet. So we no longer just need the land, the physical land, the website. For those who develop website, when they're developing your website, they say you're going to get a domain, you're going to get a space in the sphere, your own space. So it means that my brother is saying we have to move from just owning the land. You need to own a space in the digital world. If you're not going to own the space, a land in the digital world, you'll be behind, you'll be poor. Having a land, physical land, where poverty is. So you was talking about that move. So you have to look at, in terms of culture, how are you revolving? Okay, is your cultural practice, both of you, when you look at it, is it beneficial for you as a couple in the long run? If it's not, throw it out. There are cultural practices that are variable. You can learn them from Christian perspective, cultural perspective, African perspective, all kind of world views you can learn, and it's a cross-cutting. For example, the word respect, the word love, the word forgiveness, patience. These are values that are cross-cutting regardless. And these are, you can incorporate within your cultural perspective in terms of moving forward. Having a progressive mindset, developing your mindset and your knowledge, your skills, emotional intelligence. So there are certain things two couples have to look as in terms of what we say culture. Culture basically is a way of life. So you and me can create a way of life that suits us. And it brings peace, joy, and it brings the progression. I keep using the word progression because that's where people get stuck. You want to use a culture that is static and is not progressive. So you want to look at culture in that perspective. Is it progressive for both of you as a couple?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Back to the book.
Yes. I'll give you an example before we go back to the book.
Right.
I can't eat boiled chicken or meat. I was raised up in a Zambian culture where meat and chicken has to be cooked in a certain way. Now, as we evolve now, I look at my age, I'm now scared of diabetes and other disease, and my partner comes in and says we have to reduce on cooking oil. Okay? As much as that is my culture of not just, I need now to be looking at progressive in terms of healthy. That's where I was coming in. So I needed to illustrate that example so somebody can get it. Now you just come in, I need my fat to be fried. Now cooking oil is too expensive. So yeah, it's those dynamics.
All right, so back to the book.
Yes.
You have, you talk about 12 habits.
12 deadly habits.
12 deadly habits, and then 12 habits that bring.
No. 12 principles.
12 principles.
For prevailing and prospering marriages.
Okay.
Yes.
Would you like to summarize what the 12 deadly habits are?
Habit it's something learned. It's never permanent. When your child is born blank. So the mother and the father will begin to feel the blank mind. Say tata, say mama. So the child now, blank mind, totally empty. So the child begins to encode. That's why in preschool they would make them repeat certain word, A, B, C, D. They are encoding. So they are actually uploading. It's not even downloading. You're uploading into a child's mind certain values, and here's interesting. I think it's up in my singles book, not in there. I have a chapter on language. Oh no, I was excited yesterday when I was writing on language. You can't delete language from values to habits. The language we use determines the values, determines the habits. So, the 12 deadly habits are just habits that you have learned through culture, religion, friends, peer pressure. So there are these habits. Summing up, most of deadly habits are progressive habits. You learn as you grow. As you change society, as you change friends, as you move, some of these habits begin to come into your life. And I can name few of them. Alter dependence. Once you meet a person who is like, they can't depend on themselves. There are two perspectives to alter dependence. First, alter dependence is a person who can't think for themselves. They have to wait for somebody to think for them. You find these marriages where you talk to your wife or your husband, they always have to inquire from somebody. I should wait for my auntie to say so. I should wait for my uncle. They can't just sit there and make a decision. Somebody has to think for them. If you meet a partner like that, just in the relationship before you get married, you should be scared. They are not concrete in their decision. Somebody has to think for them. Alter dependence, and the other perspective, has to driven not only thinking, but the second type is actions. Anybody who can't do anything for themselves, they can't wash for themselves, they can't cook. This just doesn't just relate to men, to women too. You go in a lady's house, sometimes their bedroom is a mess. I was raised to be taught that how you look the environment, that's how the mind is. If you see my table at my office, chaos. That's how this is a reflection of the mind. That's a person. Now you enter into their bedroom, everything is a chaos. That's a reflection of the mind of a person. So, alter dependence. Second perspective is, can they do things by themselves? I'll tell you, for many years, for a couple of years, I haven't have a job, but I don't stay. There's no single day I don't have food or don't have money. Why? I think for myself. I can go and sell airtime in the street. I can go and sell this. I can go and do things. I create things by my own hands. And I don't wait for anybody to tell me anything. I stand up. I have a thought. I go out and create it. I'll do anything to create it. So if you find a person who always fold their hands, always have to be pushed, it's deadly. Some people are in marriages like that. You have the usual one, the lying, the infidelities, all those are habits that are there. Those are usual ones. You have the culture, the religion perspective. So there are a range of them. that unless you get the book and then you have a full understanding of all the deadly habits, and to each couples differ. To each couples it differs. No, not all couples break up because of infidelity. Not all couples break up because of lack of money. For others, it's just lack of respect. For others, it's just the absence. Some partners just mute. They're not moving. So they're different from each couple. And at the back of the book, I talk about every marriage has got its own fingerprint. It has its own voice print. It has its own eye print. So there's no tailor-made. You can't copy and paste. Yeah.
Fair enough. And then would you like to touch on a couple of principles?
Yes. One of it, which I'm very, very excited about, is no, before we go to principles, I have a chapter in there that's quite exciting. I get excited. The 3 reasons why people cheat.
Only 3 reasons?
And 3 reasons, and the 3 types of people. And the 3 types of people that cheat.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first number 1 type of people that cheat, there's a special word in there, but let me just use the word that is quicker in my mouth. Is dysfunctional, sexual dysfunctional. Sexual dysfunctional is sexual disability. So some people cheat, they can vow to you, I will never cheat, I love you so much, but they are sick. It's a sickness. Sexual dysfunctionality happens to people at different levels, at different layers. Others, they were raped when they were kids. Others went through some horrific sexual experiences. And as they grow older, they were not healed. So it's a dysfunctionality, it's a disability. So as much as they love you, they are honest. They can try to be as faithful as they can, but they are sick. They need help. It's sexually dysfunctional people.
Okay, so that's...
I've met people in life that they are so beautiful, so handsome. In their career, everything is going well, except that sickness.
Okay, so that's 1. Or do we have to read the book to hear about the other 2?
Read the book to hear about the other 2. Let me leave that. But you got those 3. I can just mention the name. The second one, people that cheat are called, they're trapped. Okay. They never plan. They love you, but they have been trapped. When they see somebody successful, doing well, other ladies, other men, they begin to set up traps, and it can be for a long time. I've come across people who cheat because somebody set up a trap for 6 years and has been setting up things, and then your wife, your husband, just to fall into a trap.
6 years.
Yes.
Hey, people have got time.
So the third one, I'll just give you the names, but you can read more about how they operate. How can you help in terms of areas? The number 3 is the usual one. These are driven by, I normally call them the lack of identity. The lack of identity is in the sense that I can be influenced by culture, by peer pressure, by religion, by friends. I don't know who I am. So the reason I'm influenced into this infidelity, cheating, is because I don't know who I am. So that's where peer pressure comes in. But the core issue in there is always self-identity. Yes.
Interesting. The principles.
Principles. 12 powerful prevailing principles. Why we call them principles? Principles are different from habits. As much as habits are learned and they can be unlearned, principles are permanent. They are loose rows of life. They are set there. Whether you like it or not, you are blue, you are white, you are green, you are American, African, wherever you find yourself, principle is a principle. It's set there.
Like gravity.
Yeah, law of gravity. So principles that makes the marriage prevail. One of it that the highest, I detest. Not just I don't like, not just I hurt, I detest Christians that like saying, I love a spiritual man of God. That's nonsense. Nonsense. You can't put that as a quality, as a principle. No. Yes, God tells you, Pastor Tony said. He doesn't like men and women who says, I need a woman of God, a man of God, a spiritually filled. What? No, that's nonsense.
Why?
Why? You can be, what does it mean to be spiritual? What does it mean to have a woman of God, a man of God? When we're talking about pastoring or any church stuff, you see, many people say religious terms without a depth of quality of what they're saying. And I get so upset. Simply because you hear it, every church and every preacher says. So you hear a lot of people saying that. I always say to anyone, I said, whether you're a Christian or not, look for one thing in a man, in a woman, and the word is character. If you find the word character in a man and in a woman, you've found everything. You have actually found God in a man. You have found God in a woman. Character, for me, it's in the book. That's a chapter, exciting. It's formed by 3 words. Discipline, humility, integrity. Forms character. When you find a man of character, a woman of character, they will be disciplined in their spirituality. Whether they feel God or don't feel God, they will be spiritual. The discipline. You find me, I'm a grade 12. I'm a disciplined person, guaranteed. If you encourage me to get to go back to NAMCO and get my degree, because I'm so disciplined, I will get it. The second word I said is there's integrity, and what was the other word? Help me there.
Oh, discipline, character, and integrity.
Integrity. Okay. No. you are repeating the word.
No. Discipline.
No.
Oh yes.
We're defining character.
Yeah. So it's discipline, integrity, and consistency. Did you say
no, I didn't say that. Anybody who catched up that? They missed it. I said there's discipline, integrity, humility.
Humility. Yeah.
Okay. So we have 3 that defines character. Discipline, integrity, and humility. So let me come to humility. A person with a humble mind and habits, he has a teachable spirit. They can be corrected. They can admit to their mistakes. They can take up accountability and responsibility. A person with humility has a teachable spirit. You can teach them, they can learn. First is discipline. Whatever they learn, it means they're going to apply it. They're so disciplined. Secondly is that they have humility to accept, to learn. That's what forms character. Number 3 is integrity. Honest, trustworthy. You speak the truth, you stand for the truth, you're able to speak the truth. And those 3 makes the nature of who God is. So you don't need a man of God. You don't need a woman of God. You don't need a spiritual person. If you can find a character in a person, they will be spiritual until Jesus comes. But if you go meet them in church praying in tongues, oh Jesus, after that they're going to cheat on you. Oh Jesus, they'll be praying in tongues or cheating on you. How nice gonna be there? And you'll be like, hey buddy, praise to God, he goes to church, how can he do that? Because he has no character. So, if you're going to find true spirituality, it's character. So, I don't like the nonsense people walk in. No, I need a spiritual man. No. That's nonsense. You hear me? Nonsense. Grow up. Look for a man and a woman of character. Then you're guaranteed that your prayers at least can be answered by God.
On that note, I want to go into the book that you're writing now, the one that is for people that are still going to be, who are yet to be married. There was this concept we discussed at some point, the resetting.
Resetting, yes.
Can you just
okay
preview?
So marriage is for the dead was supposed to come together with relationship CV. If a person comes to you, they want to be in a relationship, they have to bring their CV. So please get the book, get the relationship CV. So relationship CV, it's for the singles, and I'm excited. Basically means relationship driven by core values. The word CV is core values.
Not curriculum.
Not curriculum vitae. No, so relationship driven by core values, this relationship CV. The chapter you're talking about is called altering. Altering, and then it says dating and courtship is all right. Actually, the word all right means altered right. So the word all right is two things there, altered right. To be altering is compromise. I wanted coffee, but in this house you only have tea. I'll settle for tea, but I'm compromising on what I want. So to be altered, it's very interesting. When I discovered this, I was looking, most of what I write, my friend Chris Teller always say, Anton, everything he writes about his life, his movies, his life, his books, because that is the only life I know. At least my personal experience will be able to help someone. I've looked at myself and people I've come to interact, friends, clients, families. I've met several people that made me write this book. And it was two people in particular. I met this wonderful person, and this lady was using F words, like everything is F you. But you're wonderful. You're kind. But why the language? And I began to get the sense that the person was previously in some relationship where people's language was F. You know, and the person adapted. I went back to begin to think deeply. You have five, as a lady, as a man. Let's take five as example. You date the first guy, and he's Peter. Peter likes sex in the shower. So you are kind of a religious guy, a religious lady. You never, comfortable sex in the shower. So you compromise on your values. You begin to have sex in the shower. This is Peter. And then 2-3 months down the line, it doesn't really work out. You leave Peter, but you never went back to your values. You just could. Nobody always think about going back. All of us, including myself. All the people that we dated, that we are changing, we are compromising our value. We don't normally go back like, let me do reset and come back to myself. So from Peter, you move to James. James like it in the car. I'm just going to be real as possible. So now you are a wonderful lady. You are a Christian. You pray to God. Now you begin to do it in the car. You are just compromising your values. Now remember, from Peter, now it's James. You meet the third one, is Paul, and he likes it in the club. Your value says you can't go to a club, you don't drink, you don't do all those things, but this is Paul, man. I like Paul. So you begin to go to the club, and Paul likes it in the club. You begin to do it in the club. You are keeping compromising on yourself, and you keep altering. If you remember those radios where we tune, changing, looking for channels. So we keep changing who you are. You keep compromising. You meet the fourth one. Now this one says, no man, he's gonna do it crazy, legs up, screaming, shouting, take a bit of cocaine, and you keep tuning. You haven't gone back to who you are. Now you're 4 down the line. By the time you reach number 5, we don't know who you are.
You need a shower in a car. That's a club with cocaine. That's the thing.
So you have gone, stretched your values, cross, and suddenly you meet Prince Charming.
Oh.
I remember a lady coming to me saying, Anton, I just refused a marriage proposal. I said, why? She says, I'm too broken. I'll mess up his life. I said, who on earth refuse marriage when everybody's chasing? He said, I know who I am. I am too broken. That guy is too good. That lady is too good. So now you meet a Prince Charming, a princess, and they look at you, says, I know there's a good person in there, but they got lost somewhere. I hope you find yourself. And they move to the next one. And they say, I'm sorry. You have been altering, devaluing yourself, adjusting your morals, your values. So sometimes the more you date, it can be beneficial, but it can be very destructive because you keep altering who you are. And if you don't go back, because you keep there's no person you meet without compromising your value to be with them. So if you don't go back to reset yourself, reformat, you keep degenerating, devaluing. By the time people meet you who's supposed to be really with you, you are lost. So it's that. Now, there's an exciting chapter. It's
that's not the exciting one.
No, all of them are exciting. There is exciting one. Indecisiveness. You are dating a man, a woman who can't decide. I say a definition there. Indecisiveness is similar to witchcraft. If you're with a person who can't make up their mind, they are a level of witchcraft. Because indecisiveness means I'm with you, but I can't make up my mind to be with you in case somebody better than you comes. That's what it means. So I keep you in suspense. Why are you not making up your mind? No, not today, not today. You know. Now, this is painful. I'm sorry. This is painful. It is similar to cohabiting. Cohabiting is saying, I'm going to live with you. I'm not ready to make a commitment for as long as I can get rid of you at any time. If anybody comes variable, we might be cohabiting for 7-10 years. I meet somebody with some good values I like. I'll leave you in the house and get a wedding in 2 days.
Yeah, facts though.
Hey, I know you get the book, Relationship CV. Get the book. So that's indecisiveness. Indecisiveness is close to witchcraft. And I say it in the book. Legal Assistance Center gave us statistics that the highest passion killing that happened in Namibia, 90% of it was driven from cohabiting.
90 or 19?
90% of
90.
it. Yes. You can find the facts at Legal Assistance Center. It's not me. Just reading the facts out. So it's all indecisiveness. You are not that variable for me to commit to you. That's why the same heading of relationship CV is called being single with values. You'll be valued as a single. That's the same title in the book. Being single with values, you'll be valued as a single. So you can't just be with me for a couple of days. I do everything. In my proverb, there's an African proverb says, if you can have milk for free, why pay for the cow?
Buy the cow.
Why should we buy the cow if we can have milk for free? So yeah, right there. So that is the upcoming relationship CV. I'm excited. I finished the chapter. It's going to be done by end of this month. I finished the chapter yesterday called engrafting of values. You know, positive and negative, how we are raised from different society, how you are engrafted in terms of values. Some are born in a good family and they're exposed to a bad community, society, and then they engraft their values and then they get lost. Some they're born in a bad family and then they are brought up in a good society and they're exposed to things and they engraft into better values. So people develop through values. So basically, relationship driven by core values it's very, very important for singles. Yeah, there's a lot of information that are quite exciting. I can't finish all of it. Yeah.
And you shouldn't. They must buy the book.
They should buy the book.
All right. Questions, comments
up there.
Yes, lady, all the way in the back there.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
I'm not sure if it's necessarily a question.
Yes.
Or if I should say that it's a comment.
Comment or question, it's okay.
I've kind of had this, I was scrolling through TikTok as people of my generation do. And they said that for people that are 30 or almost 30, because I was turning 30,
Yeah.
they're almost 30, what are the reasons, or why are some of the reasons that you are still single at the age? Because people expect you, oh no, maybe around 28, 25, 20, 25, 28, 27 there, you should get married. And I had expressed my opinion on it, which was depending for those of us that are in that age gap now. So 20, maybe, let me say, even now, 20, from 20 all the way up to now where we are 30, 35, we were born in a generation where we basically had, and I said, I connected it to technology. We were born in a generation whereby every 3 weeks, every 3 months, there's a new update. There's a new update on a phone, there's a new update on an app, there's a new update on a laptop. And we that have been born in that generation have started treating relationships the same way as we treat updates. So
Yes.
you are with your person.
Wow.
You are here with your person now. But now there's another person there. Then all of a sudden it's choice. Then things coming in like online dating, whether it's Tinder, it's Bumble, it's Hinge, or whatever it is, those kinds of apps make you feel like you still have choices out there. So now, if you're someone that is on Tinder or one of these dating apps, you keep scrolling through the people, you match with the person, or you go on a date or two, then it's a really nice person, like you're saying, it might be Prince Charming, but you still have the app on your phone feeling like, I'm very sure I can find something better. So basically, we're acting out as though people are also now technology. They're also updates. I can really update to the next thing. This is not a permanent thing. I can now update to the next person.
Wow.
I see another person. There's nothing wrong with my current person. The person is perfect. But now I'm seeing this other person because it looks shiny. The person looks shinier. They look this, they look that. Now you want to move to that person and leave your other perfect person where there was nothing wrong. Nothing was going wrong in the relationships. But you see something new, and now all of a sudden you want to go to that side.
You see, thank you for that
Just
comment.
in case you put it in the book, I want
Credit.
acknowledgement.
Definitely, I was about to say that. I said, my goodness, I'm glad my book is not completely done. I can add that to the chapter. Totally, I'm gonna have that chapter put in. It's on record. All of viewers, it's on record.
The microphone didn't reach, it's fine.
Yes. It's on record. I think, yes. I think you brought quite a very critical issue that the era we are in as a generation of internet technology, where on an extent level, I do talk about it, but not as deep as you've put it, which is a better way. The influence of social media on relationship, the influence of internet, in our generation, it has so much impact. I can guarantee you. Let me even start with myself. I can walk in my home, and certain conflict, I know they are driven from social media. I can look at it and say, so what did you watch this time? Okay, so there is too much pressure for young ladies and young men through social media. Especially you go to Instagram, how people are going to Dubai, how people are buying this, they are buying this for her for Valentine, for this, and every single day you see a picture they are in a restaurant, expensive, and all that, and there's so much pressure, and most of it is not real, but people are taking it as a literally. So as you have said, as an art, this update thing, I think I will always update. I can get somebody. By the time you realize you're 30, you're 40, oh Jesus, I'm 50. Lord, may I not update anymore? Can I get anything that is available?
Can I swipe right all the time?
So it's a very critical point you brought in, and subliminally and subconscious, people don't get it. But that is the same way. We think we can change people as we update in the relationship. I would rather put it in this way. Update the one you have. Update the person you have with, rather than thinking there is another better person coming. There is another better person coming. And you are not here on earth permanent. The years are going, time is going. So many things are changing. There's a shift daily. You can't build an empire by starting up every year. When people look at my studio, it has taken me 10 years to build. 10. You know, so I wasn't buying everything and then I sell and then I'm going to buy new ones. No, certain things have just been progressive. Sometimes what we're updating is just a system, but the same equipment. It's just a software inside, but the same equipment. So it takes 10 years to build. And don't think, as much as people believe in this fantasy, it happens to others. It's not everybody who's going to have a one-night stand and it end up into an amazing wedding and a lifetime marriage. No, not everybody. And don't be fooled. I love a concept a friend of mine posted on his, he says, every person will tell you, no, the guy you are with is not on your standard, please dump him. And then he said, but all of them, they're running to the dustbin to wait when you're dumping. I laughed a lot. I said, that is what is happening. You know, and sometimes people get wrong advice. And I always tell people, don't get advice on Facebook. Don't get, everybody who is there has an agenda. Even if so-called relationship experts. I'm there to get my views. You know, get my numbers up. So you want, at the end of the day, get authentic. That's why going to somebody one-on-one, getting mentorship, all these things are very, very vital. And most people just think, you know, in whatever field, at least get a mentorship. In business, in relationship, in what? You don't just go on social media, think you're going to get everything. Everybody on social media has an agenda. And you might get a fraud. So yeah, so there was another comment.
Yes.
Thank you for that comment. I appreciate it so much.
Yes.
I think it enriched my book. I did another chapter. Yes, dear.
I have a comment and then I also have a question.
Good.
Alright, so I'll start off with my comment. I think what happens a lot in the generation we live in right, is that people go into relationships half empty or empty, not healed. So imagine a glass, you know, in this glass, imagine it being filled with water, right?
Yeah.
So in that person's current relationship, they became so damaged, whatever it is that happened. And it's a thing of now they're hopping on to the next relationship and no healing take place. There wasn't a process of, you know, renewing your mind, renewing your heart, really just, you know, understanding, seeing things different, really just healing, like genuine healing. And you go into this new relationship half empty or even empty. And what happens is you meet someone whose cup is full, who's been working on themselves, who, you know, have a full cup. And what happens is you don't have anything to now pour into that person's cup. And what happens is you keep taking from that person. And you all both end up with empty cups.
Empty cups, yes.
So that's something that's really in our generation now. I wanted to ask also, what is your take on healing? And the second question is, what was your wife's reaction when she saw the finished product of your book?
Okay, thank you for those two questions. Very, very important. I'll add to just what you said, and people have illustrated that when I talked about in the singles, where you keep moving from one relationship to another, and you keep getting broken, compromised, and you don't reset yourself. Part of resetting yourself is healed. We used to say, if you break up, don't do a rebound. You know, don't do a rebound. Don't just jump. There's a phrase young people used to like, you get healed on top of another man or on top of another woman. That's deadly. That's deadly. So you don't do rebound in order to be healed. And that is what is happening to most people. They just do rebounds. And it's important. We used to say this: break up, be healed. Take 6 months, 1 year, whatever you want. But come back to yourself. Because if you're going to do a rebound, you are not making a rational decision. It's actually coming to what I'm going to say now. Some professor said, people don't fall in love with you, they fall in love with their wounds. People don't fall in love with you, they fall in love with their wounds. When they look at you, they look at somebody who massage their wounds. So they like you because they're seeing that you got a gentle hand, you got a big pocket, you got a big heart that will be able to massage where they're wounded. And he said it clearly. He said, I'm sorry. Nobody is gifted to heal you. No matter how nice he is, no matter how much he loves you, he has no power to heal you. You either get healed by God, get healed by yourself before you get into it. So now as you get into it, because your expectation is that you thought, I'm going to get into the relationship and the other person will be able to heal me. So you didn't fall in love with the person. You fall in love with an image of yourself to be healed, to be pampered. And then the other person, number one, if there are people who know themselves, they'll be like, no, it's not going this way. There must be the word we use, reciprocation, a bounce back, an echo back. So if you are empty, as he says, some people just go in relationship very empty. I don't have an echo back. I'm not a river. I'm going to dry up someday. I'm not a ocean. I am not God above all. So the reciprocation is what makes the river roll down. The back and forth. You feed me energy, I feed you back. So the love you give me gives me energy to love you back. So if it's one way, one is going to dry up. I'm not saying it's going to be 50-50. And don't get me wrong. It's never 50-50. But at some point, I need to see some appreciation. I need to see some respect. I need to see some reciprocation. Just a little bit to say, I hear you. I see the effort you are making. I can't be able to help, but if you bringing the money, let me wash the dishes. That reciprocation. So it's very, very important what you brought in. The reaction from my wife has been all angles. Excited, worried, confused. Because here's the thing, I have the first book I wrote, which I've never published, was The Power and the Purpose of Sex. She never allowed me to publish it. Because authentically, most of my book I share my own experiences. In The Power and the Purpose of Sex, I was sharing my experience and my father's experience. And learning through that. So it has never come out. But it was one of my first years back, amazing book where I talk about sex is worship. It's ritual music. You can dance to it. It can take you far. I love one of my guys used to say, success is sexually transmitted. Okay, you might debate about it, but it's okay. It just meant that who you sleep with determines your failure or your success, because he was talking about the depth of a relationship. Because sex is deeper just than physical. So it's mental, it's spiritual, it's psychological, it's all angles. And if we are only meeting on the sexuality part and we are not meeting on the mental upliftment part, he got excited. He forgot that he had to switch on the camera. Okay, so if we don't meet on mental development part in terms of where we are going, then that becomes fertile. It's meaningless. So Yeah, so it's all mixed up feelings, and sometimes they're good, sometimes exciting, because many of us never want to bring out our dirty laundries out. But for me, I always say, whatever I have experienced, let somebody learn from it. My life is a compass, somebody's relying on it to get their way to their destiny. My life is a compass. So whatever I've gone through, whatever you go through, somebody somewhere. I remember years back as a student, and then few lecturers sent their student to me for internship for media. And the student says to me, but our lecturers respect you so much and they like you. But I said, they have all the money and they're older than me. How can they respect me? So what am I saying? Your life, I love John Maxwell said, a minimum average person is able to influence 10,000 people before they die. A minimum. It means you're not a superstar, you're not on social media. Just you walking from home to school, walking from home to work, 10,000 people you're going to influence minimum. So does it mean where are they going? How are their life going to turn out to be? So I like using my life as a compass for others to learn. So yeah, so I hope I've answered that question. Yes, sir. You must be the last.
Yes. For all the knowledge you gathered to write this book, were you able to apply it to your marriage? And if you did, how did it bring you and your wife closer? And how did you go about the whole process?
Very interesting. The book has come out of the failures. And the failures is you learn. Where did we go wrong? What did we do right? Of course, after you do that, you go back and say, out of what we have here, what can we learn and what can work for us? It's very, very important that, I'll tell you, somebody said, a good man apologizes for his mistakes. A great man corrects his mistakes. So, when you learn from your failures and be able to take the knowledge and begin to apply, not just to apologize, but to correct your mistakes, makes you a great man and makes you a great woman. So yes, we've been able to take some of the knowledge and be able to use it to grow. And that's the whole purpose. The whole purpose is personal first before you think of anybody else. Mm. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, any question?
Who said I walk on thorns? You walk on red carpet?
I've walked on thorns and bleeding so that others can walk on a red carpet.
Was that one of your poems?
No, that is what I normally used to tell when I'm premarital counseling, when I'm counseling people, and then they get, wow, what amazing knowledge. I said, my life experience, I have. Here's an interesting part.
When I put it on social media, who am I quoting?
No, you're quoting me.
Wonderful.
Okay, you're quoting me.
He's also a poet, by the way.
And then you misplace my thoughts.
Life experience, what you have walked.
Yeah, so basically, you learn through that and you'll be able to share through that. But it's not what I wanted to say, but I'll settle for that for now. It's okay.
No, thank you very much.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Anything else as we close? I think we have exhausted most of the conversation.
Yeah, no, I'm...
Final words.
Okay,
final words.
Final
words from you.
Me, I'm not here.
Yeah, you're not here.
I'm Vlad.
But your voice is being recorded, so we got to hear what you're saying.
Yeah, no, really, I think what excited me or what made me want to do this is because, number one, the conversation that we had the other day at the office, and number two, I think writing a book simply goes beyond putting some words on a page and hoping that people get it. I mean, the reason why I resonate with that statement of walking on thorns and bleeding so that others can walk on a red carpet That's exactly what authors do. They go through experiences, they do research, they're in the valleys, they're on the highs, and they condense all those years into something that you can absorb within a few days.
Yes.
So I have a hectic respect for authors, and I felt like a lot of what you talk about in this book is not what you're going to find in a typical marriage book. In fact, even anything about relationships as well. So I'm just excited to see how to get others excited.
Thank you.
About it.
Actually, I'll tell you about the purpose of being a true author, if it's really your gift. Number one is we were trained. If you go back to university, if you start for 4 years and you're about to do your research, they're going to tell you this. Your research has to do either 2 or 3 things. Number one, they say your research should either add to the already knowledge existed in that area. Add. It means you can't say the same things that others have said. It will be pointless. Can you tell us new things? Because people revolve, time revolve. So the research adds to the knowledge already existing. Number two, which is critical, or you are bringing total new perspective that has never been recorded before. That is the purpose of the research when you're doing in the university. You're already adding to the body of knowledge, or you're bringing total new perspective to it that has never been looked at. So when I look at writing a book, that is always the focus. I remember years back when I was writing Design Destiny, I went on Google and searched how many books on destiny are written. Over 2,000 books. 2,000 books around the world. And I paraphrasing, just look through what are their main focus. And if I'm going to write a book, how different is going to be from all the other 2,000, because that's the whole point, because there are people who are just specialized to read on destiny. Anything on destiny new, that is their focus, that is their purpose. So if they're going to stumble upon my book, out of what they've read, what new insights am I bringing in? So when I'm writing, that is always my focus. When I came to this level to begin to write the marriage book, as a marriage counselor, I've read so many books, attended so many trainings, done this. This is close to 8 years or 10 years of doing the work. So I have seen a lot. And from what I've seen, what I've gathered, from 20 years ago to now, marriage has shifted drastically at a rapid speed. Values have changed. Perspective to life, family values totally changed. So if you're going to write anything, it must be relevant now, going forward. So we can't write the usual. No, I don't like it. Just walking in a training and you hear the monotonous voice. Communication is the key. Communication is. Can you tell me how it is applicable now? I know people have separated ways good in communication. So I always wonder, can you break it down? Because everybody keeps singing this and it has become a theme song. And it carries, because most of it has no practicality to relevance to the time and the geographical area, the culture. When you say communication for American, and this is what is interesting in the chapter, Relationship Civil, when I'm talking about language. When you talk about communication for Americans, Americans have got one language. The whole America, there is no Damara America or Shiwambo America. There is nothing. It's all English. Once you say communication to America, all of them, they understand. Say communication to a Damara or Shiwambo or Herero, and translate that into their local language, you understand that try to break down the word communication. It's never at the same level. So when you come to Africa and you are dealing with relationship, cultures, and languages, there are certain things. I was telling somebody, the word love in Hebrew has got 7 meanings. So in Hebrew, they never just use, if I say I love you, they don't use the word love. There's a specific word for brotherly love. If I say I love you to my wife, we don't use the word love. They use agape or eros. Okay? If I say I love God, they use agape. If I say I love my wife, they use eros. So there were specific words. They wouldn't pluralize it or generalize it. Love, 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 love. So when you brought it into the English language, it was just love. So it's very confusing. So when you're dealing with language, and when people say communication, I'll tell you, the word, I was breaking down the word respect. For me, it's not just saying Mr. Anton, or saying these nice words, no. When a person, for example, I'm not saying you. When a person comes late, they have disrespected me. It's a language. How a person dresses, for me, it's a language. How a person walks, just a walking, is a language. Everything. Language is so broader that when you're saying communication in a relationship, please break it down for both parties. Because what communication means to the husband may literally meaning something else to the other person. When the wife says I love, what they mean is totally different in their own language. And what the man says, I needed respect, what it totally means, the word respect is not just say, hey Nisha, thank you, sir. No. They totally mean something else. So again, when you say communication, don't just throw it out there as communication. Break it down. Marriage, what did we say when we started? Every marriage has got its own fingerprint. Voice print. Fingerprint, it desires the way it wants to be touched. Voice print. Every marriage has got its own voice print. It desires, it's there at the back of the book, what I'm saying. It desires the way it desires to be spoken to. Every marriage has got its own eye print. The perspective on how it sees things. One marriage can see one thing blue, the other marriage can see one thing black. And they want it black. You want in your marriage it blue. So it's never copy and paste. So voice print, eye print, fingerprint. So every marriage is different. So when you say communication, especially for Africans, Ayman, it's deeper things than just say, hi, how are you? I'm going out, my wife, this. No, it's deeper. So you were talking about when you go and hang out with the boys. Maybe your wife understands. There's a level of communication that is subliminal. There's a level of communication that can never be altered by words. You know, but you understand each other. You have built a certain communication that you truly understand each other. That some of us, when we get into your space, we may not pick up what you're saying. But you have developed a certain level of communication, and that's what we are talking about when you're dealing with culture. Marriage has to be tailor-made for two people. It's a tailor-made. As much as certain principles are cross-board, respect, love, and all these things, they are cross-board. But certain things are tailor-made between two. Even those principles that are universal, how the two people are going to apply it are two different. The way you and your wife apply the word respect, it might be different the way me and my wife will apply the word respect. As much as it's a principle, when it comes to application, it's tailor-made. It's tailor-made. You know, you may feel okay if you know your wife gives you water standing, you'll be like, oh, it's okay, it's cool. You know, another person wants their wife on their knees. And if they understand each other on that level, leave them. You can just walk into their house, but that is abuse. It's not abuse to them. It's a tailor-made thing. And the moment you begin to adjust, because according to your perspective, that is too low, you have just distorted that. And that's why we have fingerprints that are different. That's why we have voice prints that are different. And the danger is, and hear me correctly, in anything, if you heard me in anything I've said, the danger in anything, it's a lack of identity. When you talk about every marriage having its own fingerprint, having its own voice print, having its own eye print, it's about two people developing a unique identity. Two shall become one. And that one will have its own personality, will have its own fingerprint. The danger is, most of us haven't discovered our full identity for our marriage, our relationship. So we keep copying on social media. We keep copying our neighbors. We keep crossing over. Study the person you are with. Can I create a culture, a personality, a fingerprint with this person that can build for generation? That's where we are like, if you're gonna take anything, all I have said, values, I've talked about deadly habits, principles. As you combine all that, it comes to one thing: identity. Values reveal who I am. Principles reveals who I am. Deadly habits reveals who I am. It's all about identity. Discover who you are. What are your values? What are your principles? What are some of the deadly habits you're struggling with? If you're out there, get Marriages for the Dead, get Relationship CV, and I can guarantee you I'll see you on the other side. Anton NM, the power of purpose. Tell your story and impact lives. Thank you so much.
It's a wrap.
My interviewer says we're done. Okay, you can switch off those cameras.
Good. It went way better than I expected.